What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Real Reds Talk. Good evening, afternoon, what time are we on? 6 o'clock. Good evening, should I say. A massive week for Manchester United. Some huge, big names. Joel Glazer, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Gary Neville, all talking about stadiums and managers and all not as a collective, but multiple meetings going on at United. Very important couple of weeks, and plenty of rumours as expected in an international break as well. It feels like it's going to be a long one, doesn't it, Sam? With the amount of reports that have come out just specifically today.
I hate when you lose or there's some indecision before an international break, and it's just 2 weeks of just absolute speculation and just talk sport getting in there, dicks into knots talking about the possibility of Ten Hag being sacked. It's just, it's not fun as a United fan. Like, really isn't fun. As a content creator, it's great because we got shit to talk about.
Yeah.
But as a United fan, like pure neutral, I'm just like, I'm sick of it. I just want to watch us play good football. I'm sick of manager talk and all this bollocks. Man.
It is a weird dynamic in it because, like you said, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. I mean, honestly, I've probably seen 30 plus updates on this, meeting and Ten Hag situation.
Of various degrees of reliability as well.
Yeah, various degrees of reliability and various degrees of variety in terms of what's actually coming out and what they're saying. So there's a lot of stuff to get into. Just before we do that, though, we did have an update from David Onstein on NBC Sports. I think it was last night, just kind of putting out a couple of fires. I wanted to touch on that before we get into the main stuff. Honestly, basically saying Southgate was not a contender for the job in the summer. No new information to suggest he'd be a contender now. You had the Inzaghi. Yeah. We had the Inzaghi not offer the job, doesn't even speak English, and then the idea that United can't afford to sack Ten Hag due to FFP is just bollocks, basically. I mean, Onstein didn't say that himself. He'd never used that word, but basically it's what he's saying.
Yeah.
That in itself almost encapsulates the international break, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just everybody like, oh, what can we run with? What's going to like have legs? What can we speculate about and talk about it and drag it out for weeks? Southgate, there we go. We can talk about that for 2 weeks and he's available and blah blah blah, and then Onstein just takes a big like wad of bucket of water and just drops it on the fire, doesn't he? And just goes, nah, that's complete rubbish, which is great. That's exactly what I wanted to hear from the source that I exactly wanted it to hear it from. Reliable, unmatched, unchecked source in David Onstein, and he's just basically put it to bed. And perfect, exactly what I want to hear because I don't want Southgate anywhere near the club.
No, and we heard from the actual horse's mouth on a video. I don't know if it was in Monaco or he was with a sailing team or something from Sir Jim Ratcliffe himself. He got interviewed about it and he seemed a little bit, I don't know what the correct word is to use to describe it, but
he passed the buck, didn't he?
He did. He passed the buck. He didn't want to, it seemed like he didn't want to get too involved in it, but he also didn't seem very happy at the same time. But again, we had reports come out today that he thinks enough is enough and he wants to change, but no final decision has been made yet. And apparently the complete change in Manchester United's first team coaching staff was due to tensions with Erik Ten Hag. So whichever way you look at it, there's definitely some form of friction or concern that, there's inconsistencies there.
Yeah, it's not going well, is it? Like, if evidence on the pitch is anything to go by, it's not going well behind the scenes, because if it was, then I don't think we'd see the results that we're seeing. It's very reminiscent of the last days of Ollie, when you start seeing leaks, and apparently he fell out with certain players, or certain players were not happy with things that were going on, and there was people were saying it's Dean Henderson that was leaking, people were saying it was Marcus Rashford and all this different stuff. So yeah, it's very reminiscent of then. And as you know, United, any sort of negative tidbit that the press can leap on and sort of expand for weeks, they're gonna do it, and it's exactly what they're doing. I just think it doesn't look good when your whole backroom staff has to be changed or is changed, does it? Like, it's not a great sign. I know I'm glad Rui van Nistelrooy's in. I'm glad that Rene Hack's coming. I think they can offer something. But when Erik Ten Hag is basically either he's got rid of him or Ineos has got rid of him, whatever the reason is, it's not a good sign.
No, what I was trying to figure out in my brain before is, if they're going into this meeting now, let's say it's Joel Glazer, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Omar Barada, and Dan Ashworth, let's say the 4 people in the room, and I know there's other meetings ongoing and stuff. If they was to sit there at a table and say, right, lads, let's list out the pros and cons of why we should keep the manager, what do you think they come up with, in your mind?
I mean, the pros are just the trophies, isn't it? Like, do we have anything else?
Does that not, kind of answer the question in itself?
I think they're in a mentality of we've never given a manager 3 seasons since post Fergie, and it took 3 or so seasons for Arteta to get it right. It took 2-3 seasons for Klopp to get it right. Even Pep didn't sort of get it right in the first 2 seasons, did he? So I think they're very hesitant to become that club again, become the club that was before, where we just after 2 seasons we just go, nah, fuck them, and jet them off. I think they're very hesitant to become that, but that then kind of puts you in a sort of stasis situation because you're afraid to make the choice because you don't want to be associated with a certain line of thinking. But by sticking with him, you're then
Sorry, go on.
Yeah.
Continue. I don't...
You're sticking with that line of thinking. You're then keeping yourself in a different line of stasis because you're keeping him and he's not doing anything sort of successful or going towards a goal of like leading the team upwards and onwards because you're sort of stuck in the same situation. So yeah, I think they probably feel they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. They feel like if they get rid of him now, they're going to get backlash because, oh, we never stick with a manager, same old regime. If they keep him, they're going to get backlash because, oh, nothing's changed. It's the same shit. They don't want to be successful and stuff. So I think they feel like they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, really.
But that's what they paid for, innit?
Yep.
The big decisions
Exactly.
to make. That's what they paid a lot of money for. So they have to get this one right. I mean, it is extremely difficult because, I mean, who do you even go for? And the names that are being mentioned, Romano mentioned on his YouTube channel today, Thomas Tuchel is a candidate still, even after the meetings that went back and forth. Apparently, Michael Carrick is open to returning as United interim manager. I've seen some bits on that. I don't like the idea of an interim. Simply, I've stated my reasons for it with Ruud van Nistelrooy, but I think it's a I think you're almost not writing off the season doing that. That's how I feel.
Yeah, but would you rather get in the wrong guy than have an interim and wait for the right guy?
I don't think Ineos will want to do that.
No.
That's something I'd definitely say. I think they would rather stick with him until the end of the season and then make a decision.
That's my point. I think that's what they're doing. I think because there isn't the guy that they want, like the exact guy that they want, I think that's why they haven't made a decision. Had the ideal candidate been available, whoever that is, obviously it's not Thomas Tuchel because he's free and available. So if they wanted him, they could go get him right now and do it, and they haven't because of the discussions that happened in the summer. And obviously there was a disagreement. Inzaghi is kicking about, but apparently it's not been. Didn't Onstein put that fire out as well?
Yeah, that's what I mentioned.
So
that's what I mentioned before.
He's obviously not an option that they've not spoke to either. And then who else do you really go for? Everybody else is on the sort of similar level to Ten Hag, aren't they? Amarin's on the same on that level. Xabi Alonso, I don't think you got any opportunity or any chance of getting him at all. And then Thomas Frank, he's got less CV than Ten Hag has.
Sorry, I'll just.
It's all right. Yeah. Thomas Frank's got a worse CV than Erik Ten Hag hasn't won anything. And then you're just like, who'd you go for? Like, yeah, whatever way you go for it, it's going to be a risk, isn't there? It's going to be a risk either way you go.
Yeah, I mean, the question is on Man United's fans' lips and everyone else's, is there an ideal candidate? Because we thought before, we've actually gone through the whole ringer over the last 10 years of going for different types, and we all know the coaches that we've had, so I don't need to go through that. So it's like, I don't know, you kind of almost need to strike gold, really, don't you? Maybe try a coach that isn't a massive name, but is a young and up-and-coming, someone you can work with. It's like an Arteta, for example, like he's done there. Bring in someone like that. They might not have a proven track record, but it is someone who's very good at coaching and someone you can just mold kind of into your guy. But maybe someone like that. I don't know if someone like a McKenna would fit into that mold, or I don't know.
But you've pointed out that that's going to require patience, and you've pointed out that you don't have that patience. I imagine a lot of other United fans don't have that patience. I personally do. Like, I'm all right with it because I realize the situation we're in, but a lot of fans don't have that patience. So if you bring in a guy who's unknown and not sort of proven, fans are going to start to wonder, well, what, we're going to have to wait another 4 years, 3 years before we get success? And then players like Bruno and people like that, so what, I've got to wait another 3 years before I win a title? that's the situation you're stuck in. So they're in a really difficult situation, man. Really difficult situation.
The most recent update we've had, and this was within the last hour, and it's from iPaper Sport, Peter Hall, saying that there is now a growing feeling in Manchester United Football Committee, Joel Glazer, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir Dave Brailsford may pull the trigger and sack Erik ten Hag sooner rather than later. And it's conflicting because, again, you've seen loads of people saying that they're going to stick with him. That draw, it's not the result everyone wanted, but it's small progression and improvement, whichever way you want to look at it. I think it's... If you're basing your assessment off a draw, that one sample size against Villa and Porto, I don't know what to tell you. You have to do it based off the past 3 years.
Yeah.
And off the past 3 years, it's been really inconsistent, and you haven't really progressed. How can you go? I saw a stat yesterday from, I think it was like 12th in the league XG in terms of goals scored or goals conceded or something. And it's still the exact same after you spent £200 million. And that's from a season last season where we was riddled with injuries. So there is no progression. Ten Hag keeps referencing like the clean sheets he mentioned. And I'm like, yeah, but you conceded 3 against Porto, 3 against Tottenham, 3 against Liverpool. So those stats to me, Sam, are completely irrelevant.
I think it's statements like that of a manager is the signs of a manager clinging on for his job, isn't it? Like he's trying to cling on to anything to keep him in that role or to sort of deflect criticism and stuff like that. Like he went on about trophies for God knows how long, didn't he? Like he was just consistent about that. And then the Arsenal game was another one that he hanged on to for a long time last season. Just kept going on about that. So again, he's in deep shit right now, in really deep shit, and he's just trying to cling on to any life raft or any piece of wood that's floating in there that he can get hold of and stay afloat. I would like to think he has the ability to get himself out of this, but in evidence of what happened against Villa, he's just set up to survive rather than go and win that game, which is not good. Which is what Ollie started trying to do towards the end of his tenure. Trying to
switch to back 5 against Spurs, was it?
He's just setting up to survive, and it's like once you start doing that, it's a long way down, man. It's a long way down.
Because he's talking about the word that annoys me the most is it's a process. We're in a process.
Yeah.
Okay, how long is this process? Is it 5 years, 6 years, 7 years before what? We compete for top 4 on a consistent basis? How the fuck can you sell United fans that, saying it's a process, we're going to compete top 4? Because this target that they've set, the what was it, the 150 project or something, that we're going to win the Premier League, no chance. We ain't winning the Premier League in 3 years. No chance.
I think
bullshit.
I think more people would have faith in the process and would have more leeway with the setbacks if he was willing to change stuff on the pitch that's clearly not working on a consistent basis. Like he clearly thinks this philosophy or the way he's playing is going to click eventually, and it isn't. And I think if he came out, you don't have to admit it and say it in an interview because I don't expect that, but like just start changing stuff on a pitch, start dropping Bruno, start putting Xerxes in the 10, start just trying shit to see what works. I think a lot of fans would then be like, okay, at least he's trying. It's not working, but at least he's trying to do something. He's trying to get a tune out of these players. But he's not. And his only resolve is, I'm going to set up pragmatically and try not concede. That's it. That's the only answer he's got.
Do you know what though, Sam? I watched Brighton yesterday. I don't know if you saw the game against Spurs. They play like wonderful football. One of the best teams to watch in the league.
Resilient as well.
Resilient, yeah, like really good mentality coming back from behind from 2 goals behind. Something we couldn't do against Spurs. But I watch them and I'm like, their squad is no way near the price of not even close to it. Our bench.
It's a team.
That's what I'm saying, and the team comes from the coach as well. Like they've had a transitional period where, what's the guy's name? The new coach,
Hertzler.
Hertzler's come in, bit of a transitional period, but he's just got them flowing straight off the bat, winning games. And they've got Danny Welbeck. With all due respect, Danny Welbeck's still a very, very good player, but Danny Welbeck leading the line up top, James Milner in the team. And they're getting a tune out of him. So I'm looking at it as a coach. I get it's difficult. You've got bigger egos at United, bigger wages, bigger spotlight. The magnifying glass is a lot bigger. I get that. But that's the irritating thing. I watched Thomas Frank, the way he coaches Brentford. They are very well coached and drilled on a lot of things. That's what I'm craving, and he just doesn't offer anything at all.
It's weird. Like I think I don't put it all on the manager. I think the manager's definitely at fault for a lot that's going on. But a bunch of these players are still getting away stealing their living with the effort they're putting in.
Yeah, I agree.
When Johnny Evans, at what is he, 36? At 36, he's man of the match and putting more effort in than a couple of 19-year-olds and other thing. That's damning that. That's fucking damning that. Like, I can't believe that. Fucking Christian Eriksen and Johnny Evans have been our best players this season. Two players who we were like fully prepared to go in the summer. In a bit, lads. Like, it's over for you now. We need to bring in new blood and sort of freshen things up. They're our two best players this season. Yeah. Crazy.
Signed on a free, both of them, which is absolutely mad. Yeah, I don't know. It's such a different. I wouldn't want to be that guy in the meeting board, like making the decision, because it's.
If he does lose his job, he gets £17 million when he does leave. So it's not like us when we lose our jobs, is it? It's just like, oh, I'm losing my job, are you? Just give me my £17 million check and I'll out the door.
Yeah, he's got £17 million check, but he's also probably had about 10 years scraped off his life due to the stress.
Yeah. If he had any hair, he would have lost it all by this point.
Exactly. But yeah, let's see what happens with that. There is a meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning, so I'm guessing it's going to be news breaking around the afternoon news show. So I'll definitely touch on that, and then obviously later on in the day as well, we'll see what kind of developments we have on it. We also had another development today, so I'm not really related to Manchester United, but more to the Premier League and Manchester City. And that is that City have inflicted a potentially damaging defeat on the Premier League after the rules governing commercial deals between clubs and related companies were declared unlawful. So if this does go through and it does happen, just in my personal opinion, I think the Premier League have fucked it here. There was question marks about the ownership, when they first took over in terms of Man City, state ownership, they allowed it, and now it seems like it's biting them right in the backside. We're going to see £500 million fucking sponsorship deal floating in and all inflated. Like, yeah, this is ours, and they're allowing this, actually allowing it. Like, that's got to be to have associated party transactions for everyone involved in the league has got to be just bad. There's no positivity in that at all, is there?
No, it was interesting as well. Weren't United on the list of like witnesses for the Premier League against this as well? I think United, Wolves. I can't remember.
But Ineos could use this. I'm not saying they should, but I'm saying they could use the same.
If the loophole becomes open, you know damn well teams are going to exploit it. Teams like Newcastle, who've got all the money in the world, like obviously City have and will continue to exploit that. So, yeah, again, it just shows the lack of teeth from the Premier League and the lack of ability to sort of punish teams who are bigger than the likes of sort of Everton and Nottingham Forest, because they've got so much money behind them, they could drag it out legally for ages and then end up winning. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me City getting away with more shit and cheating and carrying on with this stuff, which again, it just adds to the fire of I don't think anything's going to happen from this 115 charges thing. I think it's going to be a slap on the wrist and that'll be about it, unfortunately.
You think something of this magnitude could quite literally destroy the whole integrity of the Premier League? Because it's looked at as obviously one of the best leagues in the world, one of the most respectable leagues in the world, well run in certain areas, but something like this, if they get done over by City in such a huge case, the back's against the wall then, isn't it?
It's just all money, isn't it? It's all money. It's all it comes down to. It's like, is there money on the table we can sort of keep hold of or keep coming into the league so we can put it in our pockets? Yeah, that's why the Saudi deal was allowed to go through Newcastle despite it being a state-funded club, and it's not even hidden. It's the state in it, the PIF, like the Saudi state investment fund or something like that. It's literally the money of the king of Saudi Arabia to put into sporting clubs. So it's just, yeah, it's weird, man. It's so weird that they just they look the other way when it comes to money, but when it comes to sort of sporting integrity or competition or money to lower league clubs to sort of help them and things like that, they're just like, no, forget about that shit. It's not important. But money, all this money on the table, I would definitely sort of get hold of this and sort of make sure that's still continuing through. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me. It's corruption, man. It's like FIFA are corrupt, UEFA are corrupt, the Premier League's corrupt. They're all fucking corrupt. It's all the same shit. Just money, isn't it? I've just seen an update from Jamie Jackson. Erik Ten Hag's future will be decided on the executive summit headed by Sir Jim Ratcliffe in London on Tuesday. So there you go.
Yeah, more of the just random journalists just putting stuff out at this point. Richard's saying, seemingly this meeting was planned long before the current situation evolved, so I think he'll survive the international break. It's a great point, Richard.
I think today's one was was it the fan? What's it called where they meet the fans on the Zoom call and stuff like that?
Yeah, fan advisory board
That's
or
the
something,
one.
is it? Something like
Fan
that.
advisory board, and then the stadium development discussions. I think Gary Neville was there. That was today, so that's been booked in the diary for a while. Tomorrow's one, I think, is the one where they've scheduled it for all the bigwigs thing, which is where they'll discuss Ten Hag, I believe.
It should be more breaking news that Joel Glazers actually flew into Manchester to fucking have a meeting. That's breaking news in itself.
Well, old Rattail hasn't bothered, has he? He hasn't bothered to get his ass in
No,
there.
I'm not showing his face, no. Josh is saying, I like the Thomas Frank links. I'm a fan of him. Do you know what? A year ago when we got linked with him, when Ten Hag was going through a lot of shit, I was a bit dismissive of it, and I was like, if Thomas Frank is the answer, I want to know the question. But the more I watch of him, the more I listen to him, the more I do like him. I think he's good. I don't know. Like we said, there isn't a perfect option at the moment to go to United because it's such an unknown thing. The greatest manager in the world could go there and literally get torn apart. So you have to have thick skin. You have to be tactically really, really good. You have to have character and personality. Just a blend of everything. You have to be the perfect candidate. And I don't know who that is. Really don't.
We kill careers, don't we? Players, managers, anybody. If you come to United, we will kill your career. And then off. Like, what manager or what player has left us and gone on to do better post Fergie?
No, it's a difficult one, isn't it?
Do you know what I mean?
Fucking horrible. The only thing I'd argue is players that have left United, have gone to Italy, have gone and won stuff, haven't they?
Yeah.
To Inter Milan in particular, but it is a sticky one. I think Mourinho said that even in his thing. He was like, "Look at where they play."
Yeah,
you know,
in Italy, it's not, like, no offense to Italy, no offense to Inter Milan, but they're not Manchester United, are they? So,
no.
Yeah,
and I think they made a bold decision as well, going with the younger profile, because with younger profile again, you need its potential, it's have patience, and fans just can't have that in a minute with the football I've been watching for the past 3 years. Yeah. Andy's saying, I can't believe we're in a situation that's going from one international break to another. It's fucking exhausting. I guarantee you right now, Andy, we are going to be sat here in the November international break discussing the same shit that we're doing right now.
Yeah.
After, multiple mixed results.
And then the Christmas period, there's going to be, it's key to Erik Ten Hag because in January they could let him go to get a new manager and so they could bring players in. It'll be the same shit. It's always the same shit.
Yeah. It's going to be a long old one and filled with, just believe, like we always say on this thing, and like Denzel Washington said, 95% of the thing is bullshit, basically. I'm just waiting for an Onstein, someone credible to come out and mention people who've been linked. Now, I mentioned before, Romano has talked about Tuchel still being there or thereabouts. Very credible journalist. So that I would definitely listen to. But yeah, I don't know, man. What do we reckon, Sam? What's your gut feeling telling you? I know we spoke about it over the weekend, but has your thoughts changed at all on it?
No, I think he stays over the international break, at least. I think he's going to be here till Christmas. Obviously, depending on if we suffer catastrophic results in that period, could go earlier, but I think he's going to be here till at least Christmas to be given an opportunity to turn things around. But whether he does or not, I'm not fully invested or have any belief that he can at this point.
Here's a better question for you: will Lenny Yoro play a game under Ten Hag?
When's he back? November.
Mid-November.
He's cutting it, innit? He's cutting it.
Cutting it, yeah.
He might make the bench for a game. He might make the bench.
Yeah. Sticky one. Right, I think it's going to be a short show today, guys, because like I said, a lot of the news, unless you have any questions you want to chuck in there for the last 5 minutes, happy to do so. But yeah, a lot of the news is based around United and managers, and yeah, that's all it's been today. You go on Twitter, the only thing that's trending is fucking United, Ineos, Qatar, like all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
I put a poll in the chat at the beginning. Does Ten Hag survive the international break? 36% said yes. 64% said no. So people think.
So the majority of people think no.
I think he's going to go. So
that's interesting.
Chivy said, not sure Ineos will rush into anything unless Ten Hag forces their hand with bad results. Tuchel is free. You might escalate quicker than expected.
Tuchel's also a risk in itself. I like Tuchel, and I think he'd come in and do a similar job to like he did at Chelsea. But they do run a risk because there's obviously something there when they had their meeting in Monaco that they disagreed on. Whether that's something financial.
Do you reckon recruitment, player recruitment?
It could be recruitment, could be something financial. I think I read. It could be a multitude of things, but maybe they get back around the kind of the table and say, look, we're willing to offer you this, but you've got to kind of compromise on this and meet in the middle with it. And I'm sure we saw all the reports, didn't we, over June and July, that he was extremely eager to take over United and he wants to return to the Premier League, and he's there and available. And I think if you don't, the thing is, when you do this, when you make a decision to not bring him in, not only do you do that and miss a window, you miss a window that another club might go and get him if they have a bit of a. So then he goes off the list. So that's why it's a double risk, isn't it? It's like a double-edged sword.
You have to make a decision one way or the other, because if they stick with Ten Hag, then they just have to back him, and you can't be then like umming and ahhing about it. Like, you have to fully back him. But if you make the change, you've got to make the change. You got to be like 100% on your choice that you're going to pick. So if it's Thomas Frank, if it's Tuchel, if it's whoever, you've got to be like, no, this is 100% the guy that we think is going to change our fortunes around. Can't be like maybe, or he's got some qualities, but then maybe not this. Like, if you're maybe about it, it's not the right guy. Like, you have to be 100% on it.
Yeah, agreed. Who does everyone want in the chat? Let us know. What manager that's available right now? In terms of availability, I don't know if you can include other ones like Thomas Frank and Ruben Amorim, because they are in a job. So I think compensation packages would be pretty expensive.
I think they're gettable. I think when you
they're gettable.
They're gettable. I think when you talk about Xabi Alonso and stuff, then I don't think they're gettable.
No, impossible. Although he would probably be the best choice, right?
Yeah. Would he come though? Former Liverpool player.
No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't.
And then
it wouldn't happen. But
he wants
in a dreamland.
He wants the Madrid job as well, doesn't he? That's his job that he wants.
Yeah.
He definitely wants to go there. And Ancelotti apparently is leaving next year, I think. His contract's up or something, so that could be a perfect opportunity.
Andy's saying, I'm not a lover of Tuchel, but at least he's a good manager and might get more out of the players. I think De Ligt's gone, isn't he? If Tuchel comes in, Azraoui is another one. You can't take it. He's actually been performing good for United, hasn't he? Yeah. I'd imagine he'd bring in some experienced players as well. I think it'd be an interesting period if he came in, but we're a long, long way away from that. We just have to wait and see what happens in the meeting tomorrow. I'm sure we'll find out. So make sure you turn on that notification bell and check us out on Instagram, because any kind of news updates, we're on it within minutes. So yeah, if you want your regular news kind of fix, check us out on there. We're nearly at 30k on TikTok, so drop us a follow on there, and X as well for different kind of content. And yeah, we'll be, unless anything breaks tonight about the manager, which I'd be absolutely astonished. We'll leave it at that. But yeah, we'll be back at 12 o'clock tomorrow, regardless, with all the latest news, what happened in the meeting and stuff. So yeah, anything else, Sam?
No, all good. Follow all the socials like Nick mentioned, and yeah, join the membership if you're interested. We need to record some membership videos for you.
I know, I'm mad busy.
We'll get it done this week. Yeah. We'll definitely get it done this week.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys, for supporting as always and getting your opinions, because they matter just as much as ours. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.
Peace.